Welcome to Decision 2022. Here is the current Senate majority after the 2020 election. Republicans currently have 51 seats, the Democrats 48 seats. It is now time for the 7 p.m. poll closings. In the Georgia Senate race, it is too close to call. Doug Collins does have a lead in the race. The Indiana Senate race, too close to call. Todd Young does have a lead in the race. The Kentucky Senate race is projected to go to Rand Paul. Rand Paul has been re-elected. The South Carolina Senate race is projected to go to Tim Scott. Tim Scott has been re-elected. The Vermont Senate race is projected to go to Patrick Leahy. Patrick Leahy has been re-elected. Here's the current Senate map. The Georgia gubernatorial race is too close to call. Brian Kemp does have a lead in the race. The South Carolina gubernatorial race is projected to go to Henry McMaster. Henry McMaster has been re-elected. The Vermont gubernatorial race is projected to go to Phil Scott. Phil Scott has been re-elected. Here is the current governor map. It is now time for the 7:30 p.m. poll closings. North Carolina Senate race, too close to call. Roy Cooper does have a lead in the race. Ohio Senate race, too close to call. Rob Portman does have a lead in the race. Georgia Senate race, still too close to call. Doug Collins does have a lead in the race. Indiana Senate race, too close to call. Todd Young does have a lead in the race. Here is the current Senate map thus far. The Ohio governor race is too close to call. Mike DeWine does have a lead in the race. Georgia governor race, still too close to call. Brian Kemp remains in the lead in this race. Here's the current governor map thus far. It is now time for the 8 p.m. poll closings. The Alabama Senate race projected to go to Richard Shelby. Richard Shelby has been re-elected. The Connecticut Senate race projected to go to Richard Blumenthal. Richard Blumenthal has been re-elected. Florida, too close to call. Marco Rubio has a lead in the race. Illinois, the Illinois Senate race, the projected winner is Tammy Duckworth. She has been re-elected. The Maine Senate race, projected to go to Janet Mills. The Maryland Senate race, too close to call. Chris Van Hollen does have a lead in the race. Missouri, Missouri is projected to go to Roy Blunt. Roy Blunt has been re-elected. The New Hampshire Senate race, too close to call. Maggie Hassan does have a lead in the race. Oklahoma is projected to go to James Lankford. James Lankford has been re-elected. Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call. Pat Toomey has a lead in the race. North Carolina Senate race, too close to call. Pat McCrory does have a lead in the race now. Ohio, too close to call. Rob Portman has a lead in the race. Georgia, too close to call. Doug Collins has a lead in the race. Indiana, too close to call. Todd Young does have a lead in the race. Here's the current Senate map thus far. The Alabama governor race is projected to go to Kay Ivey. Kay Ivey has been re-elected. The Connecticut governor race is too close to call. Linda McMahon does have a lead in the race. Florida's governor race projected to go to Ron DeSantis. He has been re-elected. Illinois governor race, the Illinois governor race, too close to call. J.B. Pritzker has a lead in the race. The Maryland governor race, too close to call. Boyd Rutherford has a lead in the race. The Massachusetts governor race is projected to go to Charlie Baker. He has been re-elected. The New Hampshire governor race is projected to go to Chris Sununu. He has been re-elected. The Oklahoma governor race is projected to go to Kevin Stitt. He has been re-elected. The Pennsylvania governor race is too close to call. John Fetterman has a lead in the race. The Rhode Island governor race is too close to call. Matt Brown does have a lead in the race. The Tennessee governor race is projected to go to Bill Lee. He has been re-elected. The Ohio governor race is now being projected to go to Mike DeWine. He has been re-elected. Georgia governor race, too close to call. Brian Kemp does have a lead in the race. Here's the current governor map thus far. It is now time for the 8:30 p.m. poll closings. The Arkansas Senate race is projected to go to John Boozman. He has been re-elected. We now have a call from the Ohio Senate race. Projected winner Tim Ryan. He has defeated incumbent Rob Portman. This is a net gain for Democrats in the Senate. Florida, we now have a call from the Florida Senate race. Marco Rubio has defeated Pam Keith to win re-election. Indiana is too close to call. It has swung to Pete Buttigieg's column, and now he has a lead in the race. Maryland is too close to call. Chris Van Hollen remains in the lead in this race. New Hampshire, too close to call. Maggie Hassan does have a lead in the race. Pennsylvania, too close to call. Pat Toomey does have a lead in the race. North Carolina's Senate race is too close to call. Pat McCrory has a lead in the race. Georgia's Senate race, too close to call. Doug Collins has the lead in the race. Here's the current Senate map thus far. The Arkansas governor race is projected to go to Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. He is now elected as Arkansas's new governor. We now have a call from Illinois. Illinois' projected winner is J.B. Pritzker. He has won re-election. We now have a call out of the Pennsylvania governor race. They have elected Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman as their new governor. Connecticut governor race is still too close to call. Linda McMahon has a lead in the race. Maryland's governor race, too close to call. John Delaney now has the lead in the race. It has swung from the Rutherford to Delaney column. Rhode Island governor race, too close to call. Matt Brown does have a lead in the race. Georgia governor race, Brian Kemp has a lead in the race. Here's the current governor map thus far. It is now time for the 9 p.m. poll closings. Arizona Senate race, too close to call. Mark Kelly does have a lead in the race. Colorado Senate race projected to Michael Bennett. Kansas Senate race projected to go to Jerry Morin. The Louisiana Senate race, too close to call. John Neely Kennedy has a lead in the race. The New York Senate race, Chelsea Clinton has been the projected winner. A strong showing from Clinton after she unseated the incumbent Chuck Schumer in the primary. She has defeated one of the sons of the president, Eric Trump. North Dakota, the projected winner is John Hoven. South Dakota, the projected winner is John Thune, the majority whip. Wisconsin, too close to call. Tony Evers has a lead in the race. New Hampshire, we now have a call from the New Hampshire Senate race. Maggie Hassan has been re-elected. We now have a call of the Georgia Senate race. Doug Collins has been re-elected, defeating Stacey Abrams. Indiana, too close to call. Pete Buttigieg has a lead in the race. Maryland, too close to call. Chris Van Hollen does have a lead in the race. Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call. Pat Toomey has a lead in the race. North Carolina Senate race, too close to call. Pat McCrory does have a lead in the race. Here's the current Senate map thus far. Arizona's governor race, too close to call. David Schwerkert has a lead in the race. Colorado, the Colorado governorship has been projected to go to Jared Polis. He has won re-election. The Kansas governor race, too close to call. Greg Orman does have a lead in the race. The Michigan governor race, too close to call. Gretchen Whitmer does have a lead in the race. Minnesota governor race, too close to call. Tim Walz does have a lead in the race. The Texas governor race, too close to call. Greg Abbott does have a lead in the race. Wisconsin governor race, too close to call. Paul Farrow does have a lead in the race. The Kansas governor race, still too close to call. Greg Orman does have a lead in the race. The Michigan governor race, still too close to call. Gretchen Whitmer does have a lead in the race. The Minnesota governor race, still too close to call. Tim Walz does have a lead in the race. The Nebraska governor race projected to Mike Foley. New Mexico has re-elected Michelle Lujan Grisham. New York, the projected winner is Andrew Cuomo. South Dakota has projected to go to Kristi Noem. The Texas governor race, still too close to call. Greg Abbott does have a lead in the race. Wisconsin governor race, still too close to call. Paul Farrow does have a lead in the race. Wyoming is projected to Mark Gordon. He has won re-election. We now have a call out of the Connecticut governor race. Linda McMahon has defeated incumbent Ned Lamont to become Connecticut's new governor. This is a net gain for Republicans. We now have a call out of Maryland's governor race. John Delaney has defeated Boyd Rutherford to become Maryland's new governor. This is a net gain for Democrats. We now have a call out of Rhode Island. Matt Brown has defeated Alan Fung to become Rhode Island's new governor. Brian Kemp has defeated John Ossoff to win re-election in Georgia's governor race. Here's the current governor map thus far. It is now 10 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Iowa, Chuck Grassley easily re-elected, defeating Tom Vilsack. The Nevada Senate race, too close to call. Catherine Cortez Masto has a tremendous lead over Mark Hutchinson. Utah, Mike Lee is the projected winner, defeating Ben McAdams. We now have a call to the Indiana Senate race. Pete Buttigieg has defeated Todd Young, narrowly, however, but this is a net gain for Democrats in the Senate. We now have a call of the Maryland Senate race. Larry Hogan has defeated Chris Van Hollen, a net gain for Republicans in the Senate. We now have a call of the Pennsylvania Senate race. Pat Toomey has defeated Tom Wolf. We now have a call of the North Carolina Senate race. Pat McCrory has defeated Roy Cooper. The Arizona Senate race, still too close to call. Doug Ducey has a lead in the race. The Louisiana Senate race, still too close to call. John Neely Kennedy does have a lead in the race. The Wisconsin Senate race has swung from the Evers column to the Walker column. Scott Walker now has the lead in the race. Here's the current Senate map thus far. The Iowa governor race, too close to call. Kim Reynolds does have a lead in the race. The Nevada governor race, too close to call. Steve Sisolak has a lead in the race. We now have a call at the Kansas governor race. Greg Orman has defeated incumbent Laura Kelly to become Kansas' new governor. This is a net gain for Republicans in the governorships. We now have a call of the Michigan governor race. Gretchen Whitmer has defeated Brian Calley to win re-election. The Arizona governor race, still too close to call. David Schweikert remains in the lead in this race. The Minnesota governor race, still too close to call. Mike Lindell now has the lead in this race. The Texas governor race, still too close to call. Julian Castro now has a lead in this race. The Wisconsin governor race, too close to call. Mandela Barnes now has a lead in this race. Here is the current governor race map thus far. It is now time for the 11 p.m. poll closings. California, Kamala Harris is re-elected, defeating Tom Steyer. Hawaii, Brian Schatz has been re-elected, defeating Charles DeJoe. Idaho, Mike Crapo is re-elected, defeating Larry LaRocco. Oregon, Ron Wyden has been re-elected, defeating Greg Walden. Washington, Patty Murray has been re-elected, defeating Andy Hill. Nevada, Catherine Cortez Masto has been re-elected, defeating Mark Hutchinson. Arizona, Doug Ducey has won this election, defeating incumbent Mark Kelly. This is a net gain for Republicans in the Senate. Wisconsin, Tony Evers has won this election, defeating Scott Walker. This is a net gain for Democrats in the Senate. Louisiana, still too close to call. John Bel Edwards has a lead over John Neely Kennedy. Here's the current Senate map thus far. The California governor race, Gavin Newsom has been re-elected, defeating Cenk Uygur. Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard has won this election, defeating Andrea Tupola. Idaho, Brad Little has been re-elected, defeating Michelle Stennett. Oregon, Ted Wheeler has won, defeating Kevin Mannix. We now have a call from Iowa. Kim Reynolds has been re-elected, defeating Andy McGuire. Nevada, Steve Sisolak has been re-elected, defeating Mark Amodei. Arizona, Katie Hobbs has won, defeating David Schweikert. This is a net gain for Democrats in the governorships. Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes has won, defeating Paul Farrow. Minnesota, too close to call. Mike Lindell has a lead in the race. Texas, too close to call. Julian Castro has a lead over Greg Abbott. Here's the current map thus far for the governorships. It is now time for the 1 a.m. poll closings. Alaska, Sarah Palin has won, defeating Mark Begich. There were two incumbents that were unseated during the primaries, Chuck Schumer and Lisa Murkowski. Sarah Palin unseated Lisa Murkowski narrowly, which a lot of people doubted she could win this election, but she has handedly won, winning by over 15 points. Roughly 17 or 18 by the end of the day, but Sarah Palin has won, defeating Mark Begich. We now have a call from Louisiana, something that nobody called. A lot of people were saying this was going to go to the likely to lean R column, but it looks like John Bel Edwards has won this election, defeating John Neely Kennedy. This is a net gain for Democrats in the South, which is a huge shock. John Bel Edwards, very popular governor, has won a Senate seat in the Deep South. Here's the final Senate map on your screen. The Alaska governor race, Mike Dunleavy has been re-elected, defeating Al Gross. Minnesota, a net gain for Republicans. Mike Lindell has unseated incumbent Tim Walz. Texas, this was a huge call as well. Julian Castro has unseated incumbent Greg Abbott. This is a net gain for Democrats. A lot of people were saying this was going to be a toss-up to lean red, but it looks like Julian Castro has pulled an upset. A lot of people did not think the popularity of Greg Abbott would see him get unseated in this election cycle to Julian Castro. Nobody saw that coming. Here is the final governor map. The Senate majority goes to the Democrat Party as the Senate Democrats have elected Dick Durbin as their Senate leader. The Senate Majority Leader Dick Durbin will be the Senate Majority Leader from January onward. They have a lead of 51 to 48. The House Majority goes to the Democrat Party, 235 to 200, a huge blue wave this election cycle. They flipped 40 seats in 2018. Republicans flipped 20 to 25 seats in 2020, but they seem to have flipped. But now it seems Democrats have flipped 25 to 30 seats this time around. A huge win for Democrats in the races thus far. But anyway, guys, this is the Chaotic One saying peace.